We are going to start chapter 9, which gets into the Revolutionary War. At the end of chapter 8, they've declared independence, and now we're moving on to the actual war. Signing and sending the Declaration of Independence was a declaration of war, and therefore, had they lost, anyone who signed it would have been a traitor in the eyes of the king. This lesson 1, called The Americans and the Revolution, is really just an overview of the different people that were involved in the war. Here you see a list of people specifically talked about. You'll notice in this lesson it talks about a couple of people you're going to be reading about in your Journeys textbook. We were there, and I believe it's called James Fortin. First thing I want to talk about is on page 339. Here we have a picture of colonists watching the British soldiers burn their home. It was personally a very difficult time for a lot of people in the colonies. Taking sides was not easy. Colonists that were supporting the war, supporting independence from Britain, were called patriots. Those that said they wanted to remain loyal to the king were called loyalists. They were loyal to the king. And some of the colonists didn't pick sides and they remained neutral. Even though the Declaration of Independence showed that colonial leaders had united against Britain, not all the colonists had united against Britain. The country was somewhat divided. The people that belonged to the Church of England, or the Anglican Church, they had a very difficult time picking sides because the king was also the leader of their church. Here in this paragraph talks about how during war, often towns were robbed and destroyed by the British Army. Same thing happened with the Patriots. Patriots often took goods away from the Loyalists. In some cases, Patriots even destroyed their own stuff just to keep it from the British. Families were very often torn apart because of the war. During the war, really hit the economy very, very hard, as all wars do, and pandemics, actually. Economics has to do with how people use their resources to meet their needs and, in many cases, profit, make money to support themselves. During war, we've got a shortage of goods. When you have less goods that people need, you have what's called inflation. The price of things rises, not because it's more valuable, but because now there's less of it and it's in more demand. So we have inflation causing products and goods to cost more money. And then we also have the problem of profiteering. Profiteering is when a shopkeeper or somebody who has a good charges a ridiculously high price for what they're selling just because they can, because it's in such high demand and there's not enough of it to go around, like toilet paper. Most states here in the United States today have laws against profiteering. Women in the war. Lots of women helped in the war. Many women, like Martha Washington, actually traveled with their husbands from battle to battle, helping in many ways. Sybil Luddington, you'll read about her, I believe, in your We Were There Too. And then you have a number of other women over here. I'd like you to just skim through these paragraphs so you're aware of these people. Abigail Adams, obviously John Adams' wife, wrote to her husband a lot about what was happening in the war and what she thought should happen. She was a big influence on her husband.